Hey guys, so we just had our second week of updates during the 7th anniversary. Still in part 1. Part 2 is going to be in a little bit less than 2 weeks from now. I know it's a pretty long wait in between parts, but that's usually how they do these major celebrations. There is a big stretch in between when the banners drop, but I just wanted to gauge the general consensus on what people are thinking of the anniversary so far. From what I've been able to see on social media, there definitely has been quite a bit of negativity, a bit of disappointment. I think in general, and this doesn't just go for this celebration, but it also typically goes for most celebrations and most sentiments surrounding not even just this game, but just most opinions on social media. You typically tend to see more negativity, and the reason why is because negativity tends to result in much more interactions. Negativity goes viral more often than positivity does. Obviously, that's not always true, but I think more often than not, negativity tends to attract more people who get validated in their negative thoughts by seeing other people also be negative. And that's why I think, generally speaking, you do tend to see more negativity surrounding things on social media as opposed to positivity. But there also is both. I mean, there is positivity as well. And I also think in specifically regard to this game, Dragon Ball Legends, and this anniversary in particular, people do tend to exaggerate how bad or how good things are. So we're going to try and sort of be a level-headed opinion here, and we'll go through what some of these people are talking about, what you guys have to say about the anniversary, and I will try and give the most level-headed response that I can. I think there are things that this anniversary has done well, and I think there are things anniversary has not done well, right? So I think it's important to look at both spectrums here, not just is it all good or is it all bad, but like, you know, look at both ends. There are some good, but there is also some bad. There is some stuff that's kind of just like in the middle too. That's not good or bad. So I'm just going to go through some of these posts here. I made this post right after the Zenkai 4 UI Revival Goku dropped. And it's more so just to gauge people's reactions to basically not getting anything else besides the Revival UI Goku Zenkai, because I was personally expecting a little bit more this week. For whatever reason, they did not deliver on that. I'm not sure why. At this point last year, we had already had 2 LF Zenkais, and this is the first one we're getting this year, so we are behind a Zenkai. On the other hand, we did get the unique equip for Goku and Frieza on the first day of the anniversary, so that was additional content we didn't actually have last year, but I think being behind in LF Zenkai is pretty significant. But let's go ahead and see what people are talking about, and I'll give my thoughts on what's being said here. I know this is a long one. Our good friend Billy, Giga Rant Warning. All right, let's go through this. The part 1 of the anniversary lacked anything new. This is generally the time for the game to introduce new mechanics and events in celebration of the players supporting the game. Yes, that is true. I think generally speaking, when you talk about an anniversary celebration for a live service game, it is an important milestone because it should be celebrating the players that allowed the game to remain in service for a year. Like, we go from the 6th anniversary to the 7th anniversary. Why are we celebrating the game being 7 years old? Because the players have been supporting the game enough to make it last this long. And it's about celebrating the support the game has received. And in that regard, this should be technically like anniversaries, with that purpose being behind celebrating an anniversary, should be the most important celebration of the year. We've had 1 raid plus 1 co-op equip plus free-to-play Jiren plus 2 banners, and are now finally getting LF Revival UI Goku in what, 3? It's 2 weeks, yeah, but it feels like 3 weeks because the anniversary started on a Saturday. It technically is 2.5 weeks. Okay, we'll call it 2.5. Actually, is it 2.5 weeks? I think it's actually not. Yeah, it's because it started on the 24th. Yeah, so actually it is about to be 2 weeks. 24th, 30. I'm recording this video on the 5th, on June 5th. So it's about to be 2 weeks. So it hasn't even quite been 2 weeks yet, but it definitely has felt long. And the reason why it's felt long, I think, is because there's been a lack of content. Dry periods are absolutely unacceptable after last year's anniversary. Part 1, while also hyping up this year's anniversary for as long as they did. Yes, we talked about this in the prior community response video that I did. A lot of the negativity surrounding the anniversary so far is not even just so much the anniversary itself, but it's just the way that they hype this up and the way that they set expectations for it. That is 100% their fault. Okay, I'm not blaming the players for having high expectations. Let's just be clear on that. I think we were correct to go into the celebration with decently high expectations because of what they've been talking about for the past almost year, right? Part 2 of the anniversary in last year, in the 6th anniversary, they started talking about this anniversary, the 7th anniversary, and just the way that the 6th anniversary played out as well. We take a look at that sort of like the gold standard celebration. This is certainly not living up to that hype so far. So That is the expectation we had as a player base going into this one, and it just hasn't met that yet. The basis of this game is PvP. Sure, yeah, that is true for now. I think a very untapped market for this game is much more enhanced PvE content. I'm not sure what their stance is on that, and I'm not sure what they're going to do to address that, because that honestly has been a problem since the game dropped. We did used to actually get much more, I think, interesting PvE content really early on in the game's lifespan, but I think they probably quickly realized that their focus probably should be on PvP. And I think a lot of the reason why is because PvE has, like, there's other games you can play for PvE, right? If you guys have noticed, and now today we just got the announcement for Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, formerly known as Project Multi. All of these Dragon Ball games are designed to be played and experienced differently. There is no Dragon Ball game that is like pretty competitive with another Dragon Ball game, right? You want a competitive fighting game, you're playing Fighters. You want kind of like a laid-back, chill game that you can adventure in the world, you're playing Kakarot. You want a game where you can experience a huge roster of characters, maybe have some different dialogue interactions, you're playing Sparking Zero. Looks really nice as well. You want a mobile game that you can kind of pick up and play on like the bus or the subway on your way to work when you're traveling. You got Dokkan for that. You want a kind of like a hybridish game where you can play on the go, but you know, you can also have PvP fights and, you know, kind of be more immersed in the game if you want to at certain points. That's Legends. And then Gekishin Squadra kind of to me looks like a more of a team-based game, which is something that Dragon Ball has not done yet before. So all of these Dragon Ball games that are currently out all have like a different target audience. So this game's target audience, I think, is PvP, but that's something they kind of ironed out early on in the game's lifespan. When they started doing PvE content very early in the game, it was pretty interesting, and there's a lot more development time and resources clearly that went into PvE early in the game, and they just kind of stopped doing that because I think they noticed that PvP was the audience for this game. So when you have units from 6 months ago that are running absolutely rampant, still means there's a problem. I think that's a bit of a controversial opinion. Do we think it is bad that units from 6 months ago are if there are units that are from six months ago that are dominant, like units from Majin Vegeta, for example, is 8 months old. Majin Vegeta running around and being dominant, is that good or bad? I think it depends on the perspective you have, right? It could be good because it allows characters to have long lifespans and be usable for long periods of time, but it also could be bad because it kind of takes value away from the newer characters. So it depends which angle you look at it, but I understand that sentiment too. Due to the philosophy to slowly lower character kits, new units feel almost helpless for some of these releases. Yeah, Evolution Blue Vegeta versus Majin Vegeta, I think even more so than just like looking at them as one-dimensional characters, you just look at all of the tools that Majin Vegeta has, and Evolution Blue Vegeta being a headlining major celebration release character, 2 major celebrations after Majin Vegeta, just does not have the tools to keep up with what Majin Vegeta is doing. It is kind of weird. What are they doing to focus more on basic kits that fit character's identity? DKP, yeah, we're not going to talk about DKP here because we all know what that character happened. What happened with that character? After arguably the craziest power creep we've seen in the game was just insane, and the effects are carrying over. Characters like Ultra Majin Vegeta and Elf transforming Super Saiyan 3 Goku shouldn't feel like arguably the strongest characters right now. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I don't know if I'd agree with that, but Majin Vegeta, yes. I agree with the philosophy, but the timing of this change was horrid. I don't agree with this, but what I would say that they failed at doing was, I'm not going to pull up the producer letter, the management team newsletter, because I've talked about this before at length, but they said in the management team newsletter that they were going to gradually make these changes, where characters over the course of, I don't know, they didn't specify a time frame, but over the course of a set period of time, the kits of these characters would become progressively more linear, meaning there wouldn't be as many facets to these characters' kits. The characters wouldn't be able to do a billion different mechanics at once. But that's not something you can just, you know, all of a sudden we have characters releasing in March, Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku, and then we go to Demon King Piccolo. Like, you can't do that. And that actually is what they said in the newsletter, right? They said they were going to gradually make that change, but they didn't. They did not do the change gradually. So they just didn't carry through with what they said they were going to do, and that was the major problem, right? It sounded good on paper, okay, we're going to take this new design philosophy, but don't worry, we're not going to implement this all at once. It's going to be a gradual process, and eventually we'll reach a point where we have characters that have like much higher, numbers in their kits, and the values of damage guard and the values of damage inflicted are going to be a lot higher, so they can compete with these older characters, but they're going to be more compact, linear, much more easy to understand kits for these characters, and that was fine. But you got to do that over a course of months. You can't just do it instantly, and that's what they did, even though they said they weren't going to. So that's kind of a disconnect that we had, I think, with the philosophy there. Part 2 has the chance to blow Part 1 out of the water, but they haven't really given us much assurance based on the anniversary so far. Yes, I think our investment in our trust with the development team is not there because they've betrayed our trust for Part 1 in terms of the characters, and so I'm not really sure how much trust I have going into Part 2. Also, it would be kind of I'm rooting for Part 2, right? Obviously, I'm here. I want the game to succeed. I want the developers to do amazing things with these characters and with the game, and I'm rooting for the success of the 7th anniversary, obviously. But it would be kind of weird to me if Part 2 dropped and it was just like so far and away better than Part 1 that I'm looking at the celebration, I'm like, why was this not just Part 1? It might be sort of a thing where maybe on the back end they couldn't schedule things properly. Maybe they tried to get this out for Part 1, but it didn't work. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But it would be kind of weird to me if Part 2 dropped and it was just like, it's not like it was like so much better than Part 1. It would be kind of weird. It really would be, because Part 1 is supposed to be what rakes in the players, right? You have all these new players who are looking at Dragon Ball Legends, celebrating its 7th anniversary. I've been thinking about downloading the game, but I haven't really pulled the trigger yet. Maybe now with the anniversary here, maybe now with all this marketing they're doing, oh, there's a new player campaign going on, oh, it's going to be easier for me to catch up to these players who've been playing the game for years. Maybe now I'll dive in. They could have done that and could have made Part 1 better. But if Part 2 is just way better, then it kind of feels misplaced. But we'll see. They're overhauling the battle system, and we'll get new units that will probably benefit from it, but in no world should you start an anniversary and let the characters themselves carry the hype with no new events or mechanics or equipment. Yes, we did definitely talk about this a lot. This is actually mostly what we talked about in the last community response video. You can't just release UI Goku, put up a sign that says the 7th anniversary is here, and call it an anniversary. Right, you have to actually provide the anniversary to us. You can't just say it's an anniversary and not provide us the anniversary. 1 co-op, 1 universe reps plat, and PvP equip over 3 weeks is wild. Yeah, the lack of equipment is kind of strange because typically they're really good on just pumping out tons of equipment. There's a reason why this Part 1 financially performed at half of what last year's Part 1. Well, okay, so we say this. There have been some preliminary numbers that have dropped that indicate that they did not do as well financially this year as they did last year. I would like to just point out that those do not factor in the web store sales, because these are only sales through the app itself. There are different tools that we can use to track how much revenue the game made across different countries and different regions, but that is just revenue that is earned from the app in-app purchases. That does not count web store sales, because web store sales are not in-app purchases. They're classified as separate sales. So it's possible we actually might never see top grossing again, just because of the way the web store is. It's counted as a separate thing. I don't think it really matters. Top grossing really was just like a marketing scheme almost, right? They're going to give us the same rewards regardless, whether or not we hit top grossing. It's not going to actually matter. Right, they give us, oh, you hit top grossing, here's 1,000 CC. They have a budget, just a spoiler. I mean, I don't know, top secret classified information. They have a set amount of CC that they have planned to give out for every celebration. Them giving us them marketing it and labeling it as 1,000 CC. Oh, for hitting top grossing, you can go to 1,000 CC. They were scheduled to give that out regardless. Even if we did not hit top grossing, what they would have done is they would have said, thank you for playing Dragon Ball Legends. We received tons of support during, the anniversary. Here's 1,000 CC. Top grossing does not actually matter. Okay. But in terms of the actual revenue earned by the game, yes, I think we are not going to be seeing even I would say that it wasn't even accurate to begin with, but it's going to be even less accurate now because we have purchases for the app that are no longer made in the app itself, which is the only way we can sort of track it. So the web store sales not being counted and them pushing the web store as much as they have. And trust me, I still can't purchase things from the web store, but if I could, that is where I would be buying everything, because it does actually give me a bit of a better deal and more discounts on there. So for all these super high spending players, I would not be surprised if most of them are taking advantage of the web store. You can't hype this anniversary up for a whole year and underdeliver. Yeah, that's true. That is true. I want to stay positive as I actually like some of the devs, but this feels like straight incompetence. Here's to part 2. Yeah. To me, it does also feel like incompetence. And again, I will just mention this. If part 2 does blow part 1 out of the water, which I hope it does, we can come back and look at part 1 and say, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe there were some internal struggles. Maybe they had initially planned for this to be part 1 and it kind of got reversed. And they tried to get these mechanics out for part 1. It didn't work, but whatever. That is also incompetence because they should have planned better, right? Part 1 is where you're supposed to deliver. That's what we saw with the 6th anniversary. That is one of the facets that made the 6th anniversary as good as it was. And that is not what we're seeing right now with the 7th anniversary. So this is a long comment. This is the first one we're taking a look at here, but I think a lot of those points were valid. They completely butchered Evolution Blue Vegeta. Okay, yeah, we got ZVG, the Evolution Blue Vegeta fan club president. They didn't help his teams. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true. I mean, this is something I've been talking about for a while, too, with this character. And I've been saying this guy's kind of like the odd child out, almost. Because why did they make this character almost completely blast-oriented, right? Vegeta Clan is Strike. Saiyans are Strike. God Key is Strike. Universe Rep now is Strike. Like, you can build a Blast version of Universe Reps, especially now with Revival UI Goku. I think Blast Universe Reps is even stronger. You got Kaba, you got 17, this guy, Revival UI Goku. It's a pretty solid foundation for a Blast Universe Rep setup. But basically, all the best versions of this guy's teams are Strike. So why are we making Evolution Blue Vegeta a Blast character? And then also the biggest issue I have with this character is UI Goku. I'm not sure if this was like an afterthought or something, but they gave this character a lot of mechanics that Vegeta should have had, right? I think you look at UI Goku, and here's what they should have done. Let me find it. This literally just Control X, Control V, right? And then also Control X, Control V. And I think the anniversary is like much better. That's all you gotta do. Why does Vegeta, who is supposed to be more of a tanky character than UI Goku, and I say that because he has the highest damage guard in the game, which doesn't really feel like the case, but it is. Why does Vegeta not have the defensive utility that UI Goku has? When UI Goku is supposed to be the auto-dodging character. No clue. I think the discrepancy in power between Evolution Blue Vegeta and UI Goku is just, it's way too much. It's too big of a gap. I don't really understand what they were going for. The equipments they dropped are all mid-defensive equips. Well, I mean, not all, but I would say the Awakened equip this week is really weird, right? Equipment. I would agree with, there's the co-op equip too, which is kind of strange. This one, it's weird because usually the co-op equips are really good. But the anniversary co-op equip is like mid. It's kind of weird. Like this, I would say this is like a mid equip. It's not bad, but it's not good. And then the newly awakened, it's like the Vegeta versus Kaba equip. Yeah, when Vegeta's trying to get Kaba to go Super Saiyan. This is strictly a defensive equipment. But again, when I did my breakdown video on this, I mentioned this. If you are going to make an equipment that is purely a defensive equip, you need to put HP on this. Otherwise, I'm just probably not going to use it. Right, it has health restoration, which is nice. It's got a ton of blast defense, 38% to base, and then 15% to pure. It's pretty heavy restriction. You got to have a full Universe Reps teams for the pure blast defense here, but take some of this blast defense away, move this down to like 15%, and give me 8% health in slot 1. This equip is like twice as good. You got to have HP on defensive equips because HP is the best defensive stat in the game by far. It scales the best with everything, so... not really sure why they did that. So yeah, I mean, I could get that point because that does make sense. They didn't make him good enough. Yes, I would agree. Easily the second worst Part 1 LF ever. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. The worst Part 1 LF ever. Okay, let's think about this. Super Vegeta was better, obviously. Vegito Blue obviously was better. 3rd anniversary Gogeta. Yeah, I could see Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta being a little worse. Zamasu was way better than this Vegeta. 4th anniversary UI Goku, definitely better. Goku and Frieza is the one I'm looking at. Goku and Frieza, I would say he's about as good as Goku and Frieza was. This Evolution Blue Vegeta and Goku and I talked about this in my top 10 video. This Vegeta reminds me of Goku and Frieza. He's about as good as them when they were before they got buffed, right? I mean, they got buffed for a reason, right? They weren't good enough. The difference between this Vegeta and Goku and Frieza, though, is that this guy exists. If part 1 was just this Vegeta, I would probably be crusading for a buff, because they would just make the anniversary even that much worse. But we have a dominant part 1 anniversary character. I don't know if this character was an afterthought or what, but yeah, I mean, this is the point to talk about. They did not make him good enough. Yes, they did not. All right, Slavix. Whoever approved giving blue UI a counter green to go along with his gauge better be jobless by tomorrow. Yeah. I talked about the stuff I'd remove from this character. He does not need a green that gives him a counter. This should have just been like a stop time or something. This doesn't need to be a counter. Like, this is just, but you know why? Because it makes it impossible to actually proactively initiate against this character, right? What is the correct way to initiate against this character? There isn't one. There literally is not a correct way to initiate against this character. And so when you are in a position where you can think of anything, right? You strike, he's going to auto counter you. You blast, he's going to auto counter you. You go for a tackle, he's going to green card you. You go for a tap attack, he's going to green card you. You go for a quick attack, he's going to green card you. Now, granted, it is pretty tough to time a counter green against the quick attack, but a good player can do that. You can long range blue. A lot of long range blues are long animations. You can long range green. A lot of long range greens are long animations. But even if they're not long animations, you can simply just vanish, back float with your gauge still up, and the opponent really can't still not do anything, because if they go for like a tackle, you have your green. Like, there's no correct way to initiate against this. There is none. Zero. That is not good design. This I would change, and then the other thing I really thought was stupid, actually, is this. This is just people like this is not something I pointed out in like my initial breakdown video of the character, because I just wasn't really thinking about it at the time. But this is just way too crazy. The ability this character has to just sit on the battlefield and not do anything for like 40 counts is just ridiculous. Like, you have this. He's getting unique gauge back when he uses his blue. Just even if he misses. This on activation, 50%, right? He's getting that. He's getting his gauge back when he uses a strike or a blast card. So, I mean, like, this character just sits there forever and ever and ever, and you can't do anything. So, yeah, this is just super, super annoying. UI versus UI stare down take forever to end because both sides are terrified of a green because they thought a lock-in blue was a nice cherry on top. Yeah, all the while, Vegeta is just a competent unit, and that's not enough in 2025. I know they're that even as a non-God rank time guy. Yeah. I mean, it's just, again, for me, it is just the discrepancy between Vegeta and UI Goku. It's not so much that I don't like Vegeta. I actually would consider myself more of a fan of this character than most players. But the issue with the character is more so just this character. It's not an issue with this character. It's an issue with this character. Because he has so many tools that he shouldn't have. All right, Iron Cane. Oh, boy. Where's the next generation of Dragon Ball Legends? This is literally just any celebration they've ever had. No new modes, no new gameplay mechanics, barely a new summon animation. Also, this meta blows. Yeah, the meta, I agree. This meta's bad. But hey, Project Multi last stream today. Yeah, we got that. Yeah, I mean, this is fair. I don't think anybody is going to contest the fact that there needs to be something new for the anniversary. I mean, that's just like almost a given at this point. Toonrami, my disciple. I'm loving it. Universe Survival Saga, my favorite tag. The Tournament of Power game mode is interesting and intuitive to me, and I enjoyed learning about it. Okay. Equipment Awakening and Arts Boosting are butt cheeks. Yep. I'm getting better at PvP. I hate how much you have to grind raids. Yeah, I mean, the difference between like a game like this and Dokkan is for Dokkan, a lot of times you'll get most of the rewards just by like logging in. But for Legends, they want you to be playing constantly to get those rewards. They really want you to earn the rewards. And it's obviously a big difference in playstyle for both games. Also, this is something we can kind of discuss as well. And I think I've mentioned this before in other videos, but a big difference in perception of how this part one, like how good or bad it is, depends on what kind of player you are. If you are a veteran player, if you've been around since the first anniversary or even before the first anniversary, even like since like the third anniversary, you have experience with how this game has handled prior anniversaries. You know what it was like when Red UI dropped. You know what it was like when Goku and Frieza dropped. You know what it was like when the fusing Vegito, Super Vegito and Gogeta Blue dropped last year. And you have a frame of reference to compare the 7th anniversary part 1 to. But for a brand new player, or a player that's maybe even just played for a few months, maybe they play on and off, maybe they're a returning player but they haven't played in a long time, players like that don't have as much to compare to, and they just look at what's presented to them as a standalone product, right? They look at transforming UI Goku, they look at transforming Evolution Blue Vegeta, and they'll think, this is a cool character, I like this. Instead of saying, this is a cool character, but how come it's not as cool as last year? Right? That's not really what they're thinking of when they're looking at how these characters are presented. So I think it really does come down to what your experience has been with the game so far, and that's going to change your perception of how the anniversary is, right? Because like a person like Toonrami here, who doesn't really play Legends, hasn't really played Legends, is coming in. I love the Tournament of Power, like it's my favorite saga in Dragon Ball. UI Goku is my favorite form of Goku, and I am not very good at the game. Like, I'm a newer player. I don't really understand the mechanics of the game. This character helps me win because he's a very easy character to use, right? That is a valid point as well, but it's going to depend on what kind of player you are. So that is something to mention too. I had 2KCC saved up, did my steps, got nothing, uninstalled, going back to the Donkey Kong beetle races. Yeah, the handstand, was like Crystal Caves. You got to beat that beetle. Yeah, great. The game has been steady. Yeah, okay, so this is actually a point that I want to highlight. This is, again, I'm reiterating a lot of the same points that I mentioned in the last video, but I think for me, this actually might be the single most important thing that someone has said so far. The game has been stale. For me, that really is the major problem. The same 5 events every celebration over and over and over again. We need new stuff, more stuff like Tri-Arena, more stuff like Full Power Battle. We need them to try and figure out something fun. This, I think, is the most spot-on point so far, I think. The analogy I would give this is, let's say you have, like, a favorite pizza place, right? Let's just, argument's sake, let's just say you have a favorite pizza place, and you go to the pizza place like once every month or something, right? You go in, you get the same pizza and whatever, you enjoy pizza. It's really good pizza, right? What if it's really good pizza, but you go there every day? It's still good pizza, but you're gonna get sick of the same pizza, right? Eventually you're gonna get sick of it. That's kind of what I'm looking at with the major celebration format this game has presented to us, right? I think they really started giving us this it wasn't until the 5th anniversary where they kind of settled on this format. And the reason why they've settled on this format is because this format works. They had good reception from players, right? You compare like the 4th anniversary to the 5th anniversary, it is not even close. The 5th anniversary is just leagues, miles better than the 4th anniversary. So they looked at the analytics, they looked at the numbers, and they're like, oh, okay, people really like this celebration format. So guess what they did? They copied and pasted it for Legends Fest 2023. They copied and pasted it more or less for the 6th anniversary. They copied and pasted it for Legends Fest 2024. And now they're copy and pasting it for the 7th anniversary. They can only give us the same dish so many times before we just get sick of the dish, even though it's probably still a good dish, right? You go to a 5-star restaurant every single day for 2 months. After like 2 weeks, you're going to get sick of it. It's good food, but it's just boring after a while. That's kind of my view, right, on how this has been handled. I don't think the celebration format is bad, but for people who've been playing the game for years, we want something new and something fresh and something innovative. So I think this really does capture a lot of the problem that people are having with the game right now. It's just they got to do something different. And I think doing something different for the sake of doing something different is a legitimate argument, right? Just changing things for the sake of originality, uniqueness, just what if they just released the Ultra in Part 1 this anniversary? There's no real reason for it, they just did it. I think people would get caught off guard by it, but I think people would like it, right? There really wouldn't be like, oh, now every single anniversary they're going to do an Ultra in Part 1. Like, maybe not. Like, I don't know. They just wanted to surprise us with an Ultra in Part 1. What if they do an Ultra in Part 2? Right? 2LS Part 1, Ultra Part 2, 2LS Part 3. What if that's how they do it? And now we're going into Legends Fest. Like, oh, are they going to do an Ultra in Part 1? Oh, what if this event doesn't come back? And what if they do this instead? Like, there's a new type of PvE event. There's a new challenge battle thing. Like, they got to start changing things up because the game has been stale. That is true. Yeah, this is probably the most important thing I'm going to talk about in this video, but I really do agree with this. Things have not been very creative recently. There's an anniversary, yeah. I'm flabbergasted when I think that Part 2 is still 2 full weeks away. Sure, release a Zenkai and make it good, but let's make sure he cannot be played until next week if they don't use the CC. Yeah, so the Zenkai system is something they definitely could change, and it's definitely something they should change. I have never been a proponent of forcing people to have a character at 7 stars, especially an LF character, to have the character Zenkai awakened. To me, that is just a relic of old Dragon Ball Legends, right? Remember soul boosting? People are gonna look people in a year from now are gonna look back at soul boosting, and it's gonna feel like such an outdated mechanic because it is. But I'm looking at the fact that you need a character at 7 stars to be Zenkai'd. That is already, to me, an outdated mechanic. That should not be the case. You pull a character, you have him at 3 stars, you should immediately, if you like think about this. Let me just pull up like a super mega old character. You pull for the first time ever, I don't know, Purple Broly, right? You pull this Purple Broly for the first time. Maybe he's just like a random sparking you pull, but for summoning for UI Goku. This Broly's going to be at 3 stars or 4 stars or whatever because this is 3 times Z power. You can't Zenkai this character because you don't have 7 stars? He's like 100 years old. That's just such a stupid requirement. So I think they should really get rid of that. But yeah, this is more related to the fact that you need to do like the missions to get the awakening power. You need to farm up the Ultra Space Time Rush. There should be a way to be able to get the maximum awakening power for these characters without having to actually wait. Because the reason why people need to wait is because part of the missions to get the awakening power is to do daily missions. So obviously you can't do all the daily missions right away. So it really does make you wait 2 weeks. I think there should be... I think what they should do is they should get rid of the daily missions. Right? There's missions to do the daily missions. They should remove those from the Zenkai missions, and they should just replace them with like, use the character, right? Use the character once, use the character twice, use the character, like they should just do that. And that will let people get the awakening power much easier. There's just nothing to do, and I hate it. 7 is a significant number for Dragon Ball. I'd expect something to do and grind in the 7th. If you don't pull the new characters, there may as well not even be an anniversary. 7th anniversary of any anniversary shouldn't be a fumble. Yeah. Want to just say I find it comical that somehow both Dokkan and Legends managed to have an underwhelming Super Saiyan Blue evolution Vegeta for anniversary in the same year. I don't know what SSBE did, but he pissed off both dev teams. There's no reason to have a dry week during an anniversary. Yeah, so the dry week he's talking about was reset day last week. That was the 28th of May. That was when we got the free-to-play Jiren. That was, yeah, that should not have happened. That was really not good. The devs really need to stop holding this game back. I mean, I don't really know. None of us actually know what's going on, right, behind the scenes. But it doesn't reflect well on the developers, right? For all we know, the developers, it might not be their fault, right? There might be something going on where they have no control over how things go. Maybe it's some of the higher ups. They're like, hey, do this, do that. We're going to move, John from the Legends team over to this other games team. And now all of a sudden we're short staffed. We can't make things on time. Like there's stuff like that that's probably going on. But at the end of the day, if you're the dev team for the game, you are responsible for the quality of the game. So yeah, it doesn't reflect well on the dev team, but at the end of the day, we don't really know what's going on, right? I love Kale and Khalifa. That's about all my positivity. UI and Evolution Blue Vegeta for the 3rd time isn't exciting. Hopefully we can get an Ultra Kefla or Broly or something to make the biggest anniversary ever actually exciting. Yeah, Broly as like an Ultra Broly sounds likely. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, if Part 3 is the Ultra, which, I mean, it probably is. I mean, that's the way it's been for the past 5,000 major celebrations. I don't know if there is a single character that we don't have as an Ultra yet, besides Mastered UI, who we're obviously not getting as an Ultra now. I don't think there's a single character we could get outside of these guys. Let me just pull this up. Let me just use this because I'm all the way scrolled down. I don't know if there's a single character outside of these characters that can, by themselves, carry Part 3. DBS Broly is a hype character. I like DBS Broly. I would like to see him as an Ultra. I don't think he'd be enough to carry Part 3 by himself. I like Super Saiyan 4 GT Goku. I want to see him as an Ultra. The only reason why I don't think a Super Saiyan 4 GT Goku would be able to carry Part 3 as an Ultra by himself is because of this character last year. This is why, if you go back and listen to what I'm saying last year for Part 3, my prediction was we were going to get a Super Saiyan 4 Goku Ultra for Part 3. They went ahead and dropped Gogeta, which was insane, right? We had fusing Blue Gogeta, fusing Super Vegito in Part 1, and then we get Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I don't know how the hell you top that, right? I don't know how you ever top that lineup of characters. But I was saying, to me, Super Saiyan 4 Goku felt like the appropriate character there because it kind of would be going back a step if they did this guy first and then went back to do Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So if they do a Super Saiyan 4 Goku here by himself and he's the only Ultra in Part 3, it just kind of feels like a downgrade from last year because we got Gogeta last year. So I think what you got to do here is, if we assume that Part 2 is just going to be another 2 LF characters, to me, Part 3's got to either be 2 Ultras or they release the beast of Ultra Legends Limited characters. Right, so they could do, imagine this, full power Dragon Ball Super Broly as an Ultra in Part 3 and Ultra Super Saiyan 4 GT Goku. That would be insane. That would be a record-breaking Part 3. I think that would be crazy. Or they could do 1 Ultra, but it would be a Legends Limited Ultra character. Father Son Kamehameha, Super Spirit Bomb versus Kid Buu, Namek Goku. I don't know if they'd redo any of the ones that we have as Ultras right now. I mean, technically that Gohan would be a renewal of this guy. Namek Goku would be a renewal of this guy. Would they do a Legends Limited Ultra Super Gogeta? Would they do a Legends Limited Ultra Super Vegito? Yes, but I don't know if they'd do that as the first one. But that is probably what I'm looking at here for Part 3. I installed the game to start playing after watching my videos for 2 years. I thought the 7th anniversary was the perfect opportunity to start playing, but I didn't have hype for the new units, and trying to learn how to play against Daima or RMUI wasn't fun at all. Uninstalled. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, hey, at least you tried, right? If you try the game, you don't enjoy it, there's no shame in uninstalling, because you at least tried it. Had Toshi been the leading producer, he would have definitely given us Ultra MUI, since it's been a continuous cycle of us asking for an Ultra, then receiving it like Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Ultra Vegeta Blue. I don't know if this is true. Toshi is still the producer. I mean, he's still working on this game. They did they did show that Toshi is the producer of Gekishin Squadra as well. He is going to be co-producing Legends and being a producer of Gekishin Squadra at the same time. So he's actually going to be producer on both games. For now, right? Things can change, of course, but for now, he's producer on both games. So he is still producing Legends, and he definitely has an input. Definitely has input into those things still. So that doesn't. I don't think this affects anything. Everyone here was thinking we would get Ultra LF Giant Cell Max with, Ultra LF Giant Cell Max with Domain plus Stage Destruction. Who thought that? I mean, I mean, this was like a possibility. I didn't go into the reveal thinking like, okay, yeah, guys, we're getting Ultra LF Giant Cell. Like, no. This guy might be just like exaggerating with this, but we got MUI and Evolution Blue Vegeta with no mechanics in their Ultra Super 7th anniversary, and we didn't even get content last week. Why is UMV still top 5? Yeah, UMV is annoying at this point. Why is it so dead? We start with only the units and a few equips with the initial raid and bonus battles we're used to. Then a week later we get Jiren and nothing else. Then we wait until the next reset and we get UI Zenkai and like 2 stages that you can only do once daily. Yeah, this is the biggest problem, and this is the main reason why I even made this thread here, is because we got the initial drop. Everything came out on the 24th. And then pretty much since then, they've really not done much, right? We had free-to-play Jiren. Now we have the Zenkai for Revival UI Goku, but that's not an anniversary level celebration. Last year we had 2 LF Zenkai characters. and like a really good free-to-play character. That 18 was really good last year. Plus, we had, of course, the new mechanics with the headlining characters, the Vegito and Gogeta last year. We had brand new mechanics. Actually, we had multiple brand new mechanics. We had the fusing mechanic, the synchro gauge mechanic. We had the assault chain mechanic on Gogeta. And then we had the anti-rising rush being guessed mechanic on Vegito. So characters had a lot of new stuff to bring to the table last year. Plus, we had more content. Plus, we had like higher quality free characters last year. So it's just tough, man. It's tough to justify it. They spent half a year hyping up this anniversary as the big update that's going to change everything, and the only thing that's remotely cool that we have gotten is one new summon animation. That is, yeah, I mean, we did get a new summon animation. Again, that is something that detracts from the resources they have to develop characters. So it's not an excuse, but that is, you know, that is a thing to consider here, right? It does take development time and resources away from the team that they could be devoting to characters, and it, you know, sort of like redirects it to doing the animations. Honestly, I would rather they prioritize the characters if it is going to end up being like a situation like this. Like if it's between giving us a new summon animation, and I've been talking about wanting a new summon animation for a long time. I mean, 1 in 5 years is kind of crazy. If it's between giving us a new summon animation and giving new mechanics to the new characters, I'm obviously going to choose new mechanics to the new characters. I don't think they're sacrificing that much from the characters to do the summon animation. Maybe a little bit of polish was lost in the characters because they had to devote the time to do the summon animation, but that is actually a factor to consider. I'm optimistic for part 2 and 3, but Revival UI Zenkai has changed my opinions a lot. What does that mean? This guy Zenkai is really good, though. For a super anniversary, feels like 2024 Fest 2.0, no events other than the basic stuff, and it doesn't help that the part 1 headliners got leaked. Genuinely scared this year ends up like the later half of 2024, and scared for 25 Fest and 8th anniversary. We'll see. I don't really want to start talking about the future until we see what the rest of the anniversary has, because for all we know, part 2 and part 3 could be ridiculous. I've been shafted so much, only have Kefla and Kale right now, and going to have to use the summon tokens to get Goku. Haven't even attempted Vegeta yet. Yeah, the rates, I mean, the rates aren't worse than any other time of the year. It's just luck, right? I have noticed a bit of a difference, right? If you, especially when you compare this to last year with the loading times, it is way better. The biggest issue with the 6th anniversary was just the loading times, and the server problems were abysmal. Because of MUI, I haven't even touched the Vegeta banner and still didn't get UI. Worst anniversary luck ever. Yeah. This doesn't really reflect poorly on the anniversary, though, because that wasn't, like, they weren't going to buff. They weren't going to be like, okay, you guys have 2 times the rates to pull the new character. Like, they've never done that. So I wasn't really expecting anything like that. Feels like a normal monthly celebration. The part 1 headliners offer nothing new, no relation to the RAM update at all. Yeah, so far we haven't really seen that update be utilized yet. People are severely overreacting to the bad quality. People were expecting so much from the big update, but it was only focused on quality of life and such. Nothing to do with the actual gameplay yet. Yet is the key word here. Also, Blue MUI is such a fun unit. It doesn't matter about new mechanics because he's so fun. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not. I'm just going to assume he is. It's definitely an anniversary level celebration, but it feels like they just wanted to check all the boxes for the anniversary and call it a day. If they didn't call it a super anniversary, I wouldn't be as bothered by it, but even then, it barely qualifies for 7th. Evolution Vegeta being a 2021 unit with just high base damage and damage guard. I mean, this is underplaying him a little. Free-to-play Jiren should have been stronger considering the mechanical power creep. Yep. Failed philosophy for character abilities. I mean, for one character, yeah. Not for this guy. Daima, I mean, you can't kill Daima in one update. I mean, that's impossible. It seems like they reduced events for gift box CC. What does that mean? Seems like they reduced events for gift box CC. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but pretty sure so far this celebration has given the most CC we've ever gotten, I think. I don't have the data on that, but I'm pretty sure we have gotten the most CC we have ever gotten from this celebration so far, I think. Been really frustrated with the timeline of stuff we've had for a while, which feeds into the mediocre anniversary. Daima terrible DB celebration, VB Rose Redux anniversary units, atrocious release schedules for new content, atrocious meta environment, just a bad look for casuals. 2023 Dokkan vs. Legends since 6th anniversary, and I don't know which is worse. Probably leaning Dokkan. Yeah, I just don't see the point in comparing the games, honestly. The way they started this anniversary, it seems like they are making parts 2, 3 to be the main seller of the anniversary. With a lot of CC for returning players, the banners being so beginner-friendly, it seems like they are preparing them something huge, but we have to wait and see. Yeah, maybe. I think, again, I mentioned this earlier, but if part 2 ends up being just like head and shoulders superior to part 1, my assumption at that point would just be that it was initially supposed to be swapped, right? If part 2 is like brand new mechanic, there's like crazy animations, there's like environment interactions, like all this crazy stuff. If that happens in part 2, I'm gonna go into part 2 assuming that was originally planned to be part 1, and for whatever reason they couldn't like get it done in time or something. That's probably what I'm going to assume, because they've never done that before, right? They've never had part 1 be like kind of underwhelming, and then part 2 out of all the parts being like super crazy. You know, the only time that's been like that, even remotely close to that, is 5th anniversary. 5th anniversary, but it's not like 5th anniversary was bad in part 1. 5th anniversary was good in part 1, right? It only had one LF character, but that was the norm at that point. We had the Goku and Frieza drop. We had 4 1% sparking characters on the banner with them. And then part 2 dropped, and we got faked out because we thought it was going to be Orange Piccolo, but then they actually dropped another LF with the Gammas. That was crazy, right? Because people weren't expecting that. So I think actually 5th anniversary part 2, it was better than part 1, but we'll see. If there's brand new stuff like new mechanics and game-changing abilities in part 2 here, I'm going to be a little suspicious, okay? I am. As much as people hate it, I think Vegeta and his gauge, while flawed, is a great concept, which would be befitted from a small buff, as well as I'm glad that Universe Wraps are good again, but I despise the color of both UI and Evolution Blue Vegeta. Yeah, again, I think I'm a bigger fan of Vegeta than most people, but yeah, he definitely is not as good as he needed to be. It's all been good. I love the new characters, but was hoping for more for the 7th anniversary. The free CC encode is a nice touch, but there's no point there's no point in it if you can't use it. I would say that this is the case for a lot of countries. He's talking about the issue with the web store. Yeah, I mean that's kind of unacceptable as well. I can't use the web store. Right, when I go into the web store and I try and like log in, it'll tell me that the country or region I'm trying to access the web store from is like not supported or what, like it's some weird error message I get. What I'll say about that is they know it's a problem and they are working on it, but that's something that should have been ironed out before the web store was even launched. I don't know if it's just me, but I've played every anniversary and this is the only one where I've gotten all the new units, but I don't feel like playing any of them. Yeah, that's not good. I will say definitively, for me at least, this is not even close to the worst anniversary. I don't think you can... If you look at this objectively, I don't think there is any universe where you can even compare this to the 4th anniversary or the 2nd anniversary. The 2nd anniversary and the 4th anniversary are just like far and away worse than this one. But yeah, I mean, not having any new mechanics is really bad. I'm having fun beating the top teams with my diamond team. Yeah. I'm surprised there's not like 9 replies to this. All right, we'll do a few more here. This has been a pretty long one. We'll stop this Axel comment will be the last one we look at. I literally haven't used a different team. Single yellow Gogeta Blue got his Zenkai. It's literally been God Goku and that Gogeta for damn near a year, and this anniversary was the first to get me to change due to all the changes they did with bench cards and the long combo changes. Yeah, so I guess he hasn't changed anything. Happy that Revival UI is cooking and they didn't fumble his Zenkai. Yeah, he's a good Zenkai for sure. But the thing with that is like, is that good or bad? Because now you're gonna run 2 UIs on the same team. It's like, okay, like it was bad enough dealing with 1. Now we got to deal with 2, and yeah. New player here. I love the picks for the units on part 1. Animations are wonderful, but I hate the grinding of the raid. Not a fan of the arts boosting, the equipment upgrading and re-upgrading, and lastly the lag or disconnect issues with PvP I'm having. Yeah, I've seen some people talking about lagging and disconnecting. I personally have not had that experience, but I do have a, I guess, relatively new device. I would, if you are lagging or disconnecting in PvP, I would just double check that you have the minimum amount of RAM, and you're also running the newest operating system for your device. Other than that, I'm not sure, because I've seen a lot of other people talking about like crashing and disconnecting. So that might just be the servers being not good. Like I don't know. Like, that might just be their problem, but I personally have not experienced this. So I would say 6 out of 10 for me. Yeah, this is the rating I would give it as well, 6 out of 10. I actually am thinking about maybe bumping it down to 5. And the reason why is because I was expecting during this weekly reset, because we knew we were getting the Zenkai for Revival UI Goku, but we're behind last year. So I was expecting some kind of equipment. I think the biggest thing they could have done is they could have given a platinum equipment to Ultra Hit. He fits the theme. He's a Universe Reps character. He's definitely old enough to get one, right? Rose has one. I don't know. Like, they could have gotten one. They feel like they could have given one to Hit. It seems weird to me they didn't. Either that, or what they could have done is, let me actually go in here. Either a platinum equipment for Ultra Hit, or I was thinking what could have been good is a unique equip for Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta. This character would have worked really well with the Revival UI Goku. Right? UI Goku Zenkai buffs this character. This character can go reverse green, which is basically a way for them to cover the weakness of that Zenkai UI Revival Goku. Seems like a perfect opportunity to give this character an equipment, and they just didn't. We didn't get anything besides the Zenkai, so I'm actually like in between a 5 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10 so far for this part 1, which is not good. They buffed Universe Reps, and that's it. No new mechanics, no new modes, no new gameplay features, nothing. It pretty much feels the same as last month's, but now with UI, and the fact it seems like RAM upgrade wasn't even used for anything, gameplay-wise, makes it worse. Yes. Them only focusing on one tag for 2 banners at the same time is not good. And this is, I think, a big complaint that people have with the Legends Fest celebration too, right? Goku Black and Vegito Blue buffing, essentially, like they were meant to be random feature together, and it just kind of didn't really work that well, right? I mean, Universe Reps, I would argue right now, is actually a pretty solid team. It's definitely competitive with some of the top teams, mostly because of UI Goku, but like Kale and Cauliflower are good, Kaba's good. I do like Vegeta more than most people, I think. UI Revival Goku is solid, his Zenkai's good. So I think the Universe Reps team is solid, but if you're somebody who likes hybrids, if you're somebody who likes powerful opponent, you like maybe Lineage of Evil, Regen, Androids, like none of those teams got helped at all by this. So yeah, I can understand that sentiment as well. So there we go. That is going to conclude sort of reacting to some of these comments. This is basically supposed to be like a venting area. If you have anything to say about the anniversary so far, I know a lot of people were very, very concerned with the way they were handling things. Not a ton of content dropping. I would say that definitely outside of the first day of the anniversary, this has not felt very good. This has not been too exciting so far. So I'm really hoping that they pull things together and deliver for parts 2 and 3. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this, and I will see you in the next one.